doing my own intro. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Strength at Length. I'm your host, Nick McQuik. Joining me is my co-host from GK Performance, Jeff Garossino.
Hey, guys.
Probably one of the most talented strength and conditioning coaches and semi-expert on a lot of supplements. Today we're going to be talking about protein and protein sources, just in a general sort of thing, kind of for an athlete and for a person just sitting at a day job. What does the body use protein for?
So protein is essentially the building block for muscle. So different amino acids are broken down in the body and they're used to repair any kind of tissue. So yeah, muscle tissue is in your biceps, but also smooth muscle tissue in, intestines and things like that.
Just everyday wear and tear?
Yeah, exactly. Everything, right? It is essential. There's low-carb diets. There's no-carb diets. There's low-fat diets. There's close to no fat. You can't quite get down to there because it'll mess up your hormones. It's good luck finding a protein that anybody, or a diet, where anybody recommends not eating any protein.
Yeah, it's pretty important. Now, the thing is, I've heard a lot of rumors, myths. People say that they need X amount of grams of protein per body weight. I've heard it incredibly high and very low. But I mean, I understand everybody's different. Everybody has different things. But if you're a guy playing baseball once a week, or you're a guy hitting the gym 4 days a week, or just a guy who sits at home plays Xbox, I mean, what is sort of the range of grams of protein per body weight you need?
So the range is huge.
Yeah.
There's a good amount of research showing very little as far as just staying alive. There's all the way down to, I believe it's 0.7 grams per kilogram of body weight, which is not a lot of protein at all.
Yeah.
And the highest kind of studied stuff is more in the range of 1.5 grams per pound of body weight.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously it's going to depend somewhat on activity level and what you do. You are going to require more protein. Now, you do get bodybuilders and stuff like that are eating 400 grams of protein a day. If you're not taking steroids or something like that helps synthesize that, it's not going to do you any good. You can't just eat protein and build more muscle. That's not how it works.
Eventually, your body's just not going to be able to take it, and you're just going to be protein in, protein out.
Exactly. That's all. Or it'll get stored as fat, just like excess carbs or excess fat.
Yeah.
So as far as recommendations for your average person, I would say at least go with something 0.75 grams per pound of body weight.
Yeah.
For a higher end athlete, I would go something more into the 1 gram to 1.5 all the way. It can kind of depend. I personally like to stick to about 1 gram per pound of body weight. If I'm trying to cut weight or lean out, then I will actually increase my protein intake because it makes you feel full.
Yeah.
It's more satiating and it has a higher thermic effect. So basically burn more calories digesting it than something like carbohydrates or fat.
Now, that's something I wasn't even going to touch on, but we were talking about this. I've heard foods like celery and things like that, you burn more calories than you get from eating it.
Yep.
Which I don't really know the truth of that. But the one thing that is commonly pushed in a lot of lose weight diets and cut belly fat shortcut things is they always push more protein.
Yes.
And by increasing protein, you're going to probably lose a bit of weight. But just by adding protein to your diet already, would you see any effect?
Well, so by increasing it, not necessarily. I mean, ultimately when it comes to weight loss, you need less calories than you burn, right? So if you take what you're eating right now and you add more protein, you're not going to lose weight. In fact, you might gain weight, if anything, right?
So that's where you wouldn't really supplement. You'd more substitute.
Exactly, yeah. You would take out carbohydrates and possibly, if you wanted, add protein. Again, there's no magic behind it. And the thermic effect, the whole idea of eating celery will burn more calories than it is to eat it. That is kind of technically true. But at the same time, celery is very few calories. Therefore, burning more to digest it isn't going to do, you burned an extra 20 calories.
I think it's one of those things where if you were to chew your food 100 times before you swallow, you're going to burn more calories, whatever you eat.
And the more you eat something like celery or anything, the better your body actually digests it, and that whole idea goes out the window anyways. The big thing with protein is that when you start cutting calories, you're probably going to be hungry. I mean, a chicken breast is typically, for more people, it's more filling than, a cup of rice.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it comes in, is you can substitute out some carbohydrates or some fat, add in some protein. It's going to keep you full. You're not going to want to snack all night.
Yeah.
And it should help you lose weight. But there's no magic to protein.
No, it's just one of 3 basically macronutrients that your body uses and utilizes.
Exactly.
That being said, before we even get to the supplement aspect of this, what are some protein-rich foods? Because I mean, like, some people out there might not even know that.
Yeah, surprisingly, yes, a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So the best kind of sources of protein, in my opinion, of course, are meat, different kinds of animal products. So meat. I'm not a big dairy guy, but if you can tolerate it, go ahead with dairy. Eggs are an excellent source, and obviously, fish, beef, anything like that. As far as if you're a vegan, it does get a little bit tougher. Yeah. But there are like legumes. Nuts are a good source, although they're also really high in fat. So you just, you got to watch stuff like that. Same with nut butters. People always say, oh, peanut butter is a great source of protein. But it's a way better source of fat than it is protein. So
I think
careful
that's
with things like that.
One of those things where when somebody is supplementing instead of substituting.
Yeah, exactly.
If you were to weigh like the calorie of a scoop of peanut butter versus a cup of rice, you'd probably get more full off a cup of rice.
Exactly, yeah.
100%. But for supplements, there are so many types of protein out there and so many different things. When somebody walks into a supplements store for the first time, it can be really overwhelming for them, and they might not know the difference. So today we've got some Casein Protein and some whey protein. Now, whey protein, Whey Isolate, is way more common for people. What are the advantages of a whey protein?
So a whey protein is going to be, it kind of depends. So a whey isolate is just essentially, it's a more processed form of whey protein. So it's going to digest a lot faster. There's less carbs, less fat in it. And ideally, it's going to get to the muscle cell better. The research on that is a little bit mixed, but
a little skeptical.
But it is a good source of protein as opposed to just like a whey blend, which typically is a combination of whey isolate, casein. They kind of leave it all in there.
It's just sort of scrape the bottom of all the vats.
Exactly. It's the best kind of bang for your buck, in my opinion, as far as protein, if you're just looking to get a little bit extra in.
Yeah. Also, the one thing that I've commonly heard is protein absorption times and the anabolic window.
Okay.
Now, I've heard from some people, and I've even seen from some people, that midway through their workout, they will take a protein shake so that they can better introduce the protein into their body while their muscles are still needing it, apparently.
So, again, not quite the way it works. Midway through your workout, I mean, it does depend, though. If you are, like, I know Donnie Thompson, he's a really famous powerlifter. That guy squatted 1,200 pounds in powerlifting gear. Therefore, his workout would take him 4 hours. So what he would do is he would work up to a 1,200-pound squat or whatever his max was that day, have a meal, and then train. Well, he's over 300 pounds. He's one of the best powerlifters in the world. There's a lot of factors there.
Yeah.
If you're just the guy down the street who gets an hour workout, you don't need a protein shake during your workout by any means.
No.
Again, different though, if we're talking about elite level athletes, it can come into play. Now, you do want amino acids going through the body while you're lifting weights. Typically, though, again, if you're just your average person, that's just going to come from the way of food before the workout.
Yeah. Basically, I think before a workout, usually a cup of coffee, some rice, some chicken, some broccoli, and you're set.
Yeah, I would
maybe
keep
a multivitamin.
Sure, multivitamins are great.
Yeah,
I'd keep it to a little bit of carbs and protein. Keep the fat low. A little bit is fine, but just kind of pre-workout. You want a little bit faster digesting, and fat slows digestion. Yeah. So you don't want to be digesting a giant meal while you're trying to work out. But an hour or two, a little bit of food is definitely a good idea.
Now, I've heard about the anabolic window, and I've heard some people say if you aren't getting protein in at the right time, it's not going to your muscles. So this is sort of kind of one of those myths that I've heard, because here's 2 different types of proteins. A whey isolate is taken into your body, and it's a fast digesting protein. You get it quick. A casein protein is it's much slower.
Yep.
It comes in. I would usually take a scoop of that before bed so that I can just get it all night.
Yep, 100%.
Now, where does that kind of fall in the anabolic window? How big is the anabolic window?
Okay. So the anabolic window is kind of it's a funny thing where you get people on both sides where like it doesn't exist, there's no such thing, and you get people on the other side where like you need to drink a protein shake before you even hit the locker room. Both are kind of wrong. But yes, there is such a thing as an anabolic window. It's not that if you have protein outside of that, it's not going to go to your muscle. It's still going to go to your muscle. That's what it does, just like everything else, right?
Well, I assume if you're sore, your muscle's rebuilding and will just take whatever protein you put in.
To as much as they can, right? Protein synthesis tends to spike at about roughly 20 to 25 grams. So anything more than that isn't going to increase protein synthesis. But it's not going to hurt either, unless, again, if you're trying to eat, 8,000 calories a day worth of protein, you're just going to build body fat. It's not going to build extra muscle. But as far as the anabolic window goes, there is a time after the workout where you are more sensitive to it. Muscle is being broken down, and you're catabolic, which means you're breaking down tissue as opposed to rebuilding it. So when it comes to post-workout, they actually find that the more advanced the trainee is, the more critical it becomes. So it's still not one of those things where you don't necessarily need to bring a shake with you to the gym. Unless you live a long ways away, then it's probably a good idea. But it is one of those things where, the longer you've been training, the harder you train, the more crucial it is to get in protein and some kind of carbohydrate as well, as quick as you can post-workout. Kind of the big guys that were kind of known for dispelling the anabolic window was Alan Aragon and Brad Schoenfield. And they did a huge meta-analysis on like 42 studies. And they were basically like, there's no such thing as the anabolic window. Both those guys still drink a protein shake after their workout. So that kind of says it. As far as what kind, honestly, it's not going to make a huge difference for your average person. Again, higher end athletes, you would want to go with something like an isolate because it is going to digest a little bit faster and it is going to get there. If you just work a day job and go to the gym for an hour or two every, couple days, then a casein is going to be fine. But you are right, it is a slower digesting and therefore really good for something like before bed or as a meal replacement in the morning. Let's say you don't have time to have anything to eat, have a scoop of casein, and it's going to provide you a slower kind of digestion of protein.
Yeah. For also, I found this one question while I was looking around, and somebody said, can they mix their protein with their coffee? Or would heating up the protein have a negative effect?
The denatured protein?
To which I just thought to myself with like common sense of, you have a chicken breast and you put heat on it. It's still protein, right?
Yeah,
so
100%.
This is protein if you heat it up or whatever. And for myself, for my shakes, I love mixing them in with coffee.
Yeah, totally fine. Totally fine. Now, maybe, I don't know, if you, lit it on fire, it might denature it. But honestly, how many people eat protein pancakes and protein cookies? And there's no harm in putting in your coffee at all. Anything like that. It's not, if it does denature it, it's not enough that it's ever been proven in any study. So it's totally fine. Like you said, we don't eat raw meat. Yeah. So it's totally acceptable.
Exactly. So with this, what are some of the sort of advantages and hidden disadvantages that somebody has never taken protein before they might kind of experience?
Okay, let's start with the disadvantages, I guess. So depending on the quality of your protein, if you get kind of a cheaper type of protein, and especially if you're somebody who's lactose intolerant and you just get a regular whey blend, it might come out the other end pretty quick. That can be an issue. Also, you guys talk about like protein farts. It's a real thing, but it's like, again, if you're buying a cheap protein or you have poor digestion, or again, just poor digestion with that particular protein, it's not always bad protein or anything, then that can be an issue too. You can get gassy, you can get bloated, things like that.
I think that's one thing that I found with price point with that, for sort of the detrimental effects of the protein. I've noticed that if I just go to like the cheapest place and buy whatever they have on their shelf, I'm going to get some bad effects. But if I go with a more quality product, it is weird how protein, the price of it can vary so much, but it some of the quality does really show through with it. Yeah,
it does definitely. And that being said too, some companies are just really good at marketing. So there is some expensive ones that still aren't great. But you don't want to get the absolute cheapest protein you can find. It's typically not going to do well. Again, if you're young, if you're in high school, you tend to be pretty resilient to that kind of stuff. And you probably don't have a lot of money. So it's not a bad idea. But no, you do want to, you kind of get what you pay for when it comes to protein. You do want to get something that's a quality source. And the higher quality proteins, you're going to have better digestibility, especially with something like a whey. Not so much with the isolate, but just a whey blend. There is actually some immune boosting effects as well and stuff like that from different immunoglobulins and things like that in the protein.
Yeah, some of the branched chain amino acids that are in these, like L-lysine and stuff, they have sort of a lot of health effects too. I've been reading up on, and it's because when I initially got into supplements, I would get a thing of protein, and I would just think this is protein and flavor. I didn't realize what all the other stuff they wrote on there was.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a ton of things in there that it's one of those things where you almost have to sit there in a supplement store with your phone researching to figure out what you're buying.
You definitely could if you wanted, but yeah, it is just the different amino acids that are comprising the protein. They will list on there, and yeah, you want something that has a good amount of those amino acids.
Yeah. So you touched on it briefly. You said if somebody has a lactose intolerance, because we only have 2 here.
Yeah.
But there are lots of proteins that are good for people with lactose intolerance.
Yep.
There's lots of protein sources. I commonly think of, for vegans and vegetarians, there's soy and hemp are good ones. And also, I believe you were telling me right before we started that casein is actually, it doesn't have lactose.
Which I actually didn't know either. But because casein is basically it's mostly comprised out of milk. Milk is 80% casein and about 20% whey.
Yeah.
So I just kind of always assumed that there was lactose in it, and I've never seen them advertise it lactose free, which companies like to do. But yeah, apparently people with lactose intolerance can tend to handle casein well.
Yeah.
And yeah, some other good options. Yeah, if isolate protein usually is lactose free as well. I don't think this particular one is, but a lot of them are, and they will put it on there. Beef protein is another good one. And yeah, as far as vegans, vegetarians, you're right. Soy, I'm not a huge fan of. It kind of depends on the person.
If you overdose with soy, there are some hormone effects that can occur.
Yeah, it can be pro-estrogenic, and there is some. Soy is very heavily sprayed, like with pesticides and stuff like that. So there is some debate that it can actually blunt protein absorption, which is kind of the opposite of why you're taking it.
Why would you buy it then?
But a good quality, you'd probably be fine. Hemp is a good source as well, and then you get into like brown rice protein and stuff like that as well, which are good sources, pea protein, things like that. It's typically not as highly digestible as a good source of whey. But if you're a vegan, then it's definitely something you're going to want to look into.
Or even if you have some sort of a side effect, some sort of gut problem going on or something with anything else, there are tons of options, which I remember when I got into supplementation, there wasn't.
No, there wasn't. It was not long ago when it was just like there's some whey protein and that's about it. Yeah. So there is a lot of different things you can get now.
So one thing too, I just want to kind of stress to the audience is on the back of a lot of protein, you'll see things that say that they're a tested protein or a verified protein or anything like that. That is put there usually by the company that's trying to get your money. So,
yeah, that's exactly what they're doing.
I don't know of many companies that do out-of-house testing, but there's a couple websites you were telling me about that you can go on, and if you Google and search, there are a lot of companies that just take it and they tear it apart and see what's inside of it. And there's a couple bad things they can do. They can not have as much protein as advertised or not have the branch chain, but there's also spiking. Yeah,
so spiking is basically companies will take cheaper things that will show up as protein. So basically the way that they test the protein content is that it's burned and nitrogen comes off from protein. But also glutamine, creatine, glycine, taurine. Those are kind of the common four, which those are all good things. We just talked about glutamine and creatine last week. But it's not protein. So companies, it's cheaper than protein, and some companies will actually put that in, and they burn off as nitrogen as well. So all of a sudden you're 25 grams of protein per scoop. If you get 5 grams of glutamine, 5 grams of creatine, you're now at 15 grams of protein, which that's not, like you said, what you're paying for.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing that I always, in every episode I try and push, is a whole diet.
Yeah,
because when you are buying a chicken breast, that's protein. You have a chicken breast and you can prove it. And you know what it is. There are some times where you are traveling a lot or you just can't get it in, and shakes are incredible for that. Shakes, bars, all that sort of stuff. But like I said, these are supplements. So you would take them in addition to a healthy diet.
100%. I agree. I'm always trying to push people eat more meat, eat more eggs, quality sources of protein, and this is just sort of the extra little bit. If you can't get it all in a day, a shake is a good option.
Well, some people that are a bit heavier in size and everything, like you were saying, getting a gram of protein per pound of body weight.
Yeah.
That could be a bit hard for somebody who's like 250 pounds.
Yeah, and especially if you're lean at 250, then that's what you want if you're trying to build muscle. So it's not always easy to choke down that much chicken and steak. So
But
shakes do help.
I'm going to say, before anybody goes out there and spends anything on supplements in any way, just check your diet.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you might not need it.
Protein, and you might not need it, and it might not help you. I mean, if you eat like shit all the time, then protein shakes aren't going to be the magic answer that's going to do anything extra for you.
Exactly. So, but if you need them, they are there, and I'm going to say probably 80% of them are what they say they are.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
They're mostly good for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, if you guys have any questions about protein, we've got a comment section down below. Get at us there, and we'll try and answer whenever we can. And if you guys have any other supplements that you want us to talk about, or any just general health questions, get at us down below. Make sure to turn on notifications for when we go live. We do this, I don't know, Wednesdays. And if you like this, hit the like, and if you enjoyed it in any way or learned anything, make sure you like the page. And share it with your friends, because maybe they need to know this. Or maybe you guys are having an argument about the things we were talking about, and you just can prove your friend wrong. So do that. Anyway, I've been Nick McQuik.
Jeff Garossino.
Keep on watching things on Facebook.
Thanks, guys.